listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's MasterChef After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's MasterChef After Show.
Going to a Scarborough Fair. Parsley, sage,
crusted salmon
rosemary, thyme. Yeah, guys, we are doing this song in honor of both of us came up with it as soon as we heard about the breadcrumbs on Elizabeth's salmon, talking about parsley, sage, rosemary, just no time.
You can't do parsley and sage. I fault her dish for not having all
seriously,
4 spices.
Elizabeth, it's a really great dish. I really enjoy it. But you don't have enough Scarborough Fair on it. Guys, thank you for tuning in. This is the MasterChef After Show here at AFTERBUZZ TV. I am your host, Stephen Lemieux, StephenLemieux on Twitter. I am joined here today by my amazing co-host. Actually, my amazing co-host is not here today. Tracy will be back next week. But my semi-amazing co-host right next to me, Zach Wilson.
I do an okay job.
He does a pretty good job.
Not amazing yet.
He's like the cutter of this after show.
Oh no.
Whoa. That was fighting words.
It's deep blow.
Hey, can I be Big Willie? You be the Courtney of this after show.
I'm fine with that.
We're fine with that? Good.
I'll be a producer's dream.
Good. I know, right? You'll be a lot of people's dreams if you're the Courtney of this after show. And guys, we actually have a special call-in guest tonight. You may have heard of her from a little show called MasterChef. She's been on every episode until tonight. Tonight was her last episode on the show, but she's been a darling the whole time, and we've really enjoyed watching her grow and watching. I mean, the producers have painted her in a negative light, but I mean, it's still such a great personality and such a great person to have on our show. Elise Mayfield, thank you so much for being on our show tonight.
Hey y'all! I'm so happy to call in.
I'm glad you could join us on the show. We've been working at getting a contestant every week, and when Tanya told me it'd be you, I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, they don't like me, and I'm like, we like Elise.
I was a little worried, you know. Sometimes I understand, you know. Sometimes on the show it's been like, my God, is she whining and crying again about something? But I have a lot of feelings, and I was a little nervous, but I'm so glad to talk to y'all.
You do have a lot of feelings, but I know we work in TV. We know that producers like to paint things and exaggerate things, so don't worry. We got your back, at least.
And every season needs somebody to pick on.
Exactly.
Well, thank you.
Just don't make any pies recently. I mean, that's going to be the ongoing joke probably for the rest of this season moving forward.
God. And for eternity, I will probably never live down the title of Pie Girl. I think I'm okay with it, but maybe not. I'm still undecided.
As titles go, that's not that bad.
It's really not. I'd say Pie Girl is kind of high up there. I mean, I'm sure Courtney's had some pretty bad nicknames in the past.
Probably so, but he can really be lovely, and I think, you know, we've all got our negative things about ourselves, so if the worst thing that is for me is that I bake too many pies, I'll take it. That's fine.
So, Elise, I gotta ask, can you give us any tea? What's going on in MasterChef right now at this point in the competition? Who hates each other and what's going on? Because I kind of want to know behind the scenes, like who's kind of teaming up, or maybe if there's something kind of cliquish going on.
I mean, we certainly at this point in the competition had kind of figured out who our kindred souls were. So they were definitely friendships, and I think that's evident from a few episodes ago when Jamie and Elizabeth both said, like, you know, we're each other's best friends, and so there's definitely friendships that have been formed, and I think there's some personality clashes that have been pretty evident. But, you know, I have to say, backstage, people really respected each other. You know, I think when you're in the kitchen and you're cooking, it is a totally different environment than what it was like to be backstage, and that, you know, backstage was a lot more like, let's just nerd out about food. There was so much like, yeah, I love making sauces, and like, this is my favorite way to cook that, and that was some of the most enjoyable times, was just the time to hang out and actually talk about food with each other. So, yeah, I mean, there's certainly people that are closer friends than others, but, you know, when it came down to it, we at this point had kind of formed a family and a support system, and we were all we had. So, yeah, I mean, most of the time pretty congenial.
I do want to ask, because of course tonight you have your breakdown, and that was like a big one of the small climaxes of this episode. And I feel like that was mostly caused by the situation you were under and all the pressure. But at the same time, I feel like, have you been cooking this entire season with a fraction of that nervousness? Because I feel like outside of the competitions, you can probably think clearly, you can probably be calm and cook a really amazing dish. But I think it's really when the pressure gets put on that you haven't learned to cope with that, especially in such a high-risk competition like this.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right. What happened tonight is a buildup of the amount of anxiety that I had built up over the course of filming. And what happened tonight is I actually developed anxiety-induced hypoglycemia, and so my blood sugar dropped, and I needed to go drink some liquid glucose and eat a piece of bread and drink some water before I could come back. And that's why I knew I was going to pass out, because it was a blood sugar thing, and it had kind of started happening a few days before, and it's a result of basically kind of built up anxiety. Your body, when you get to that kind of point, can't really process your blood sugar anymore because it's busy like regulating your adrenaline. So yeah, you know, that's kind of what happened tonight. Is I basically, my blood sugar dropped really low, and based on kind of the amount of anxiety, and yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you guys can kind of see. Yes, I'm not the best under pressure. There's definitely people in that kitchen that cook and perform better under pressure than I do, and you know, outside of the kitchen, I can actually make a composed dish without crying, which is lovely.
Unless you cry at how good it is, I hope.
Yeah. So I'm certainly, now that I'm kind of back in my comfort zone, have gotten back in the kitchen and cooked some more. And yesterday I made a pie. Pie in a while.
How'd it turn out?
I just couldn't help it. It did. I was like, oh my gosh, I bet Chef Ramsay can like sense this somewhere in the air that it's happening, and he's gonna like contact me and be like, stop making pie. Please
tell me you tweeted Gordon Ramsay with a picture of the pie.
I sure did. I absolutely tweeted him, and he wrote back to me. He wrote, OMG. And then I wrote back and I said, Chef, you've made my day. And he wrote back and he said, and you've made another pie. Thank you, Chef. I appreciate that teasing.
I guess he can't like vote you out a second time. So you know what?
I know. I was like, well, I'm already been gone once.
Power to you to make those pies. Zach, did you have any questions right now?
I guess just when you're, how intense is it, like, between, because when all we see is like the most intense moments, but you have like a whole hour to cook. Are there really just like lulls where you can like sort of take a step back and take a breather, or is that really what happens, that there's no moment where you can stop for even a heartbeat? And they don't have that dramatic music behind you, right, while you're cooking, because that would just really add to it.
The music is definitely edited in afterwards. You know, I think it depends on what kind of dish you make. There's certainly more waiting time if you're baking something, because the rush is always to get it in the oven and then the wait time while it's baking. But if you're in the middle of doing a composed dish that has a protein or a main and a side and a sauce, there is really not much time to sit back and look at your surroundings and take it all in. And maybe, I think there are probably other cooks in the kitchen that were able to do that better than I was. But those times are real. When they say 60 minutes, they are not joking. We really have 60 minutes to do that. And I think with the salmon challenge today, that was 60 minutes to fillet the fish, to scale it. They wanted us to do 10 perfect fillets and cook a composed dish. So that was a lot to lot to handle in an hour, and those time limits are very real.
So I have to ask this only as a watcher, and even though I really do like you, Elise, I have to kind of be hard on you for a second because the fans would hate me if I wasn't.
Okay, fair enough.
Watching shows like these, people who watch them, and lots of my friends who watch Hell's Kitchen, they really hate it when people try to play the sympathy card. And I really do like you, but at the same time, I want to, like, how do you want to address people who kind of are going to give you a lot of problems for,
flack.
a lot of flack for kind of being very emotional and trying to get everyone's sympathy. And it's probably not intentional, but on TV, that's how it comes across, and that you're just making a big deal about every little thing, so everyone will look at you and kind of praise you as, like, the golden girl.
Yeah. I do have to say, I wasn't playing this. While this was filming, I didn't have the consciousness to really think about what this was going to look like edited. And so I wasn't going through this filming process and thinking ahead of time that I'm going to try to go for the sympathy card, that's what I'm going to try to do with this, is that I'm going to be the emotional one. It's just kind of the way that it's just how I am. I really put my heart into cooking, and I think maybe because I'm a true home cook and I'm not a professional, that I went in there with heart and emotion and feeling, and not as much professionalism as some of the other cooks in the kitchen. And I recognize that there are better cooks in the kitchen than me. Absolutely, I know. And I knew from the very beginning that there were people that could cook better than I could by football field lengths. And all I could do was try to cook with passion and love. And those are the things that, I think that's what makes your food taste good. When you're a passionate cook, that's where your food tastes good. There's a sixth element to food that doesn't really have anything to do with what is in the pan or in the pot. It has to do with who you are as a cook. And so while I completely understand the people that are like, God, that girl is so emotional, I'll be like, yeah, I am. It's just I cook with my heart, and I love deeply everybody that's in my life, and I appreciate people that may have related to my emotional connection with food and with this experience. And I hope that maybe I can help other people to be brave with how they feel. And if not, then I hope maybe I was at least an entertaining part of the show. So yeah, I hope that helps explain it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rough circumstance. I imagine, like, this is not happening over 14 weeks. This is just going so fast that there's no time to let your emotions stay, where most people could take a breath and let them check their emotions. There's no time, and there's also probably producers yelling at you. Well,
and we don't get too much backstory on you, but you do get a lot of camera time. So most of your camera time is that. So it's kind of how they wanted to play your character up in how the episodes were edited. So I completely understand, but we just needed that out in the air for a lot of people on Twitter, who I'm sure you get some tweets from people.
Like, I completely get it. And on Twitter, like, I have tried to acknowledge the fact that I completely 100% understand that I am a crybaby, and I am like unabashedly the crybaby of season 5. And I'm not really proud of it, but it's just what happened. And so, like, I get it. I totally get it. And I'm trying to make fun of myself because I know I look ridiculous sometimes. I really do. I understand.
Well, we were just kind of glad that you stuck it out till the end, though. Because there's one thing that just makes everyone who watches these shows angry, is when people give up the opportunity and voluntarily leave. So the fact that you stayed and you did put your dish up even though you knew it was bad, we respect that a lot more than somebody who would have just walked out of the competition, because that just kind of spits in the face of everyone who's actually, applied for it and didn't get on the competition. So we totally respect that. And honestly, people give you a bad rep for the cooking and stuff, but you made some pretty good dishes. I can't really say that Cutter's made some really good dishes yet because his artisan pizza did not really cut it tonight.
Oh, I'm gonna lay into that
Ooh,
so
they didn't
hard
like
later.
that, did they? They did not like that phrasing.
Honestly, looking at the episode though, if you had put up the dish that you did without kind of putting on the air of giving up a little bit, I think they would have sent Cutter home though. I really do.
They may have. I have to say a big thank you to Gordon Ramsay. Because he really stepped in, and he stepped in a lot this episode with me to help me kind of push through because I was dealing with a couple different things, and a lot of it was me trying to push through my own like physical ailments, and then which affected me kind of mentally. And I, the moment when he came into my station and said like, "You cannot give up on this," I realized that he was right, and I tried as best as I could to salvage that dish, and I own that it wasn't a good dish. Like, I will absolutely 100% own that I failed, and that is a really hard thing for me to admit as a person who is kind of a perfectionist in real life. That moment in my life was a huge, life-changing moment. It's probably the first time I have really, really, truly fallen on my face in a very public venue ever. Besides that one time I actually fell in the cafeteria in college, and that was terrible. But this was a really life-changing moment for me. And, the other cooks, I think maybe it's possible that if I hadn't had such like an emotional struggle with it, that I could have stayed on. But I respect their decision to keep Cutter because I think he's also somebody that's been growing a lot in this competition. And I'm excited to see what he does next. And I hope that he continues to grow from this because I'm sure that this was a tough night for him too.
So what do you do next, Elise? What is the next move for Elise? I know you were a learning advisor or something, right? Administrator.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what the next move is. I've gone back to my job. So I'm back at the desk right now, and I'm supremely thankful that they held my job for me and that I didn't have to quit my job to go on the show. But I am trying to figure out what the next thing is. I mean, I think one day I would really like to open a bakery. I really love talking to people about food and talking about cooking. So, yeah, if there was an opportunity for me to write or for me to talk to other people about food on radio or TV, I would love to do something like that. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to find my happiness again with my job and with my life, and like Chef Ramsay told me to, kind of regain my confidence in the kitchen, and it's slowly but surely happening. So for now, I'm just taking it a step at a time. And like Tyler said when he was eliminated, I think this is just a detour and it's a bump in the road. But I don't think this is an end for me. I'm really excited to see what the next few months and years are going to be like. I think I definitely feel like I've got pre-MasterChef life and post-MasterChef life. And it's going to be really interesting to see what comes up next. I'm excited. I think this has been one of the most fulfilling journeys that I've ever been on. Yeah. I know I sound like I'm still self-help talk right now, but it's true when these life-changing things happen. Some of the cliches actually become real-life things. So yeah, I'm excited.
So I guess I'm just curious, since you were in the room, who do you think is the strongest moving forward? Who's your pick from what we've seen so far?
I think there's some really killer female chefs in the kitchen, which is awesome. And I have immense respect for Victoria. She is so awesome. Victoria is like just one of the best people I've ever met.
She's the dark horse.
And so smart. What?
She's the dark horse of this season. Like, if you were gonna bet on a long shot, I think she could sneak up and take it at the last moment.
She is so, her vocabulary in food, having conversations with her outside of the kitchen, backstage, she knows so much. And on top of that, she's just one of the funniest people I have ever met in my whole life. So Victoria, I can't wait to see what she's going to do next. And then Elizabeth is also a dear friend and also just a killer cook. I actually saw her last night, and for the first time since we had seen each other on set, and we cooked dinner together, and that was so great. She cooked the dinner portion, and I cooked dessert, and
was it a pie?
Awesome time, and
it was a pie, wasn't it?
Great. It was the pie.
Yeah.
It was the pie.
Was anybody told to leave the kitchen at any point?
What was that?
Was anyone told to leave the kitchen at any point in time? It's like, I don't know if this is up to par. I'm just tasting it. It's not, the flavor's not there. You're going to have to leave the kitchen.
No. Nobody was told to leave the kitchen, so I think we did all right with the friends and family last night.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for calling in tonight, Elise. Fans can find you on Twitter at MC5Elise, correct?
Yes, that's it. It's MC5 Elise, and I'm also on Facebook under that same handle.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in. It was great to get your perspective on what happened tonight. And we really do, we are rooting for you. We really do wish you the best, because I know it's really tough to be in these competition shows and only have so much of America see one side and one point of view of what the producers show.
Totally. Well, thank you so much. This was a really awesome opportunity to talk about the show and the experience, and tonight really couldn't have been a better night. I can't tell you, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. It's amazing to be able to kind of give your side of the story too. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right.
Absolutely.
Have a great night, Elise.
All right, you too. Good night. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Well, that was kind of cool. I
Yeah.
mean, it's easy to hate somebody the producers paint to make you hate. So
Yeah.
it's really always you gotta kind of look at it at a more subjective standpoint when,
Yeah, well, that's the thing with reality television. It's sort of interesting because watching the TV show and then talking to these people, yeah, they're themselves on television, but these are absolutely characters.
Yeah,
They know that they're in front of cameras, so they're not necessarily going to behave like themselves. Even if they want to, they're not going to be able to. And then when this gets edited and put down, the real life person and the character we saw on TV, those are different things.
I'm just so glad she did not leave halfway through, because that would have released just hellfire from everyone on Twitter. Literally everyone on Twitter. That would just make everyone immediately hate you no matter what you did. So I'm really glad she stayed. Guys, we're going to actually break into the after show now portion where we recap the episode a little bit, but I'm going to rush through it a little bit, Zach, and we'll just kind of do some spark notes. Mystery box! It's a giant box, and apparently it's Cutter's advantage because it's big. What the hell, Cutter? How do you get that out of that? Anyway, the mystery box contains Wild King Alaskan salmon, and basically each chef gets a salmon, and they have to portion it into 10 fillets.
A $450 salmon.
Salmon is expensive, especially fresh salmon, and Gordon gets his own fillet. Gordon's going to fillet it, Graham's going to cook it, and Joe's going to eat it because Joe is their master, apparently, because that's the job I want if I'm going to be doing any of those three things. So, running through this, Christine ruins her salmon because she washes it probably with warm water, which makes the fat dissolve. So if you've ever had...
is that what it was?
She said she washed it and that's where it went off. If you have a very fresh salmon and it's not ice cold, if it's just kind of chilly...
You're supposed to give it an ice bath, right? If you're going to wash it or something like that? Or is that a totally different thing?
That's a totally different thing. But the problem is when it's that fresh, it's kind of the fat is like butter. It's literally delicious, and that's why sashimi is so fresh and it is very, buttery. But water can kind of dissolve the fat because fat is water soluble in that case. And it just made her salmon look like just salmon without the marbling, and it just made it look bad. Leslie says that Elizabeth is the one to beat. That was kind of a good thing, especially for the final competition in this. Courtney makes a basted in miso butter salmon with broccolini. Elizabeth is kind of surprised because by the time she got out of the pantry with cauliflower, Gordon had already filleted all 10 of his salmon fillets. And she starts on her dish with a herb breadcrumb crusted baked salmon over fennel carrot puree and cauliflower steak. Guys, this is where we had to do Scarborough Fair, because when she's describing this, I have a herb breadcrumb crusted baked salmon. Oh, what's in the crusting? It's parsley, sage, rosemary. I'm like, say time. She didn't say time.
Come on,
damn it. Elise calls for a medic. She's freaking out. She has a nervous breakdown, and Elise has left a MasterChef kitchen. She comes back with only 20 minutes left. Christian says, I've made salmon once before, so he's going to make a seared Creole salmon. Gordon warns him about the spices, because I mean, it's very easy to overpower the flavor of fish when it's a mild flavor. Salmon has a little bit of a stronger flavor than something like a sea bass, but it's still like you can easily overpower it. Ramsay, of course, is done in 5 minutes. We see the top 3, which is Kristen, Courtney, and Elizabeth. Elizabeth was of course, the breadcrumb salmon. Let's see here. Oh, I also want to mention that Francis L. was torching his salmon to give it a nice crispy skin. That was kind of cool. Francis L., you were not featured at all in this episode. At all. You were wearing a Judas Priest leather jacket. I tweeted at you about that. You were not featured at all.
The only things we saw of him was torching that and then turning back to Courtney like, hey, you started yet?
And if anyone gets this joke, I feel like Francis is in the back, cooking salmon! Like, literally heavy metal style. Loved it. Great.
All right.
Anyway, so the results are Christian with his blackened salmon with veggie melody, garlic, and tomato puree.
That's good.
Looked so good.
I'm such a sucker for Cajun food, but that looked so good.
So good. I can't wait until this guy gets like crawdads in his hands and what he can make, like an etouffee to die for, probably. Oh my God. So Graham likes the sauce, likes the spice mix. Everybody loves it. Courtney makes a seared salmon on broccolini with Israeli couscous and fennel salad. They just say it's cooked well. And Elizabeth makes that dish that we talked about, and they say it was really courageous to bake salmon. Because in a competition like that, the difference between convection oven and when you cook it in a pan is when you're cooking in a pan, it's cooking from the inside out. And in a convection oven, it's doing the same, but it's really just completely cooking it all the way around the salmon.
All sides at one time as opposed to one side.
So it's very easy to overcook salmon, and then it's like way too flaky and it'll break apart. So they did a really good cook. It was like just enough, like a medium rare. She cooked a good medium rare salmon. So that was really good. The winner is Christian, and he says, "What?" Because he curses. And he says he knocked it out of the park, and into the pantry he goes. Cook whatever is in the basket. It puts the food ingredients in the basket.
Way to make this so creepy.
It puts the food ingredients in the basket, and then it chooses who gets halftime.
Oh God. I thought the
hashtag judges baskets.
What did you think of them picking the Italian one? I thought that was like the safest. Maybe Graham's fresh food would have been the easiest. I thought throwing Gordon's like British ensemble basket at them would have thrown them a lot more curveballs.
I think Joe's basket was the great choice because they don't give him enough. They don't give him too much protein. You have to be very smart with the protein you use, so it doesn't so the dish isn't unbalanced. Literally, Italian cooking is like Joe talks about in the show. It's the basis of cooking. Like every ingredient is like what you use in all cooking around the world usually. Like you have your oil, you have your butter, you have your cheese, you have your starch, and you have like let's say you have your meat, your protein.
Yeah, and since you're not starting with pasta, you don't have like freeze-dried pasta to just throw in the water and boil. It's not simple.
Exactly. And again, like they say, it takes 10 minutes to boil the water. It takes 7 minutes to make al dente pasta. It takes time to make the sauce. It takes time to make anything you're going to make in it. It's kind of difficult to make a really good Italian dish with no planning. So if any of these people did not have a background in Italian cooking, or if they haven't made something with why can't I remember the name of the cheese? I'm such an Grana Padano.
Yes.
That cheese can honestly be a make or break item because it can really, if you use too much of it, it's not going to be good. If you use too little of it, you're not going to taste it at all. So that's kind of, I liked it. And what I wanted to see is I wanted to see people use the wine a little bit more intelligently. Nobody used the wine.
Except for Leslie.
He
was drinking it.
He was drinking it.
He uses the way it was meant to be.
He's 56. That's all he does. Shout out to you, Leslie.
I mean, he's in Malibu. That's what they do in Malibu. They drink.
His Instagram is like so many pictures of him like at yachts and like around the world. I'm like, Leslie, damn it. We try so hard to like not be jealous, but then we are. I'm really just jealous of the silver hair, man. That's all I want, right?
I mean, if you can pull off silver hair like that, you got it made. Because like not everybody can, but we're all getting there eventually. Well, if we keep it.
If you keep it, yeah. Anyway, so I kind of liked that they chose Italy. Graham's basket looked a little bit too simple to me.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff you could have done with fresh vegetables and fruit and stuff.
I think we would have seen more variety with the farmer's market basket. And I think with Gordon's basket, I think we would have seen lots of British food, but people have eaten British food all their life. Like even like bangers and mash, like all sorts of stuff. There's lots and lots of British food that Americans
But
know.
it's tougher to make like bangers and mash something MasterChef worthy.
Oh yeah,
and that's what I was kind of hoping for with that basket, because like, it's challenging to elevate that.
But I think what he was going for by choosing Joe's basket is anyone can make spaghetti. But can you make spaghetti good?
In 60 minutes.
Like, can you make a pasta that's good? Like, because when it comes to pasta, anyone can freaking cook pasta. But it's really going to be on you to do the seasonings, to do the combination of ingredients and the flavors to make it good, and the judges will probably know that. And when you're cooking for Joe, Joe seemed the most attached to his basket. Gordon's like, this is the stuff in my home.
He was even making fun of it.
Yeah, Graham's like, oh, this is my farmer's market. And Joe's like, this is near and dear to my heart. Like, this is what I grew up with. This is Mama's Italy.
True.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. So Courtney is the one he chooses to only get 30 minutes. And, okay, guys, me and Zach thought the same thing on this. I'm going to give you the honors of saying it.
I mean, it's an advantage.
It is.
In this. Like, they're not doing anything so complex that, like, having only 30 minutes is a nightmare. All that means is she has 30 minutes to plan every single move, because she just has to stand there and has nothing to do but plan out what she's doing.
And she can look at the basket, like, and see what's in it.
She gets to, like, that's the biggest challenge, I feel like, in MasterChef, is you just have to run and gun. And when you have those, yes, you could just stop and think for 10 minutes, but you're not going to. You're going to start moving, and then you're thinking about the thing you're doing at that time. When you can't do anything, she was able to plan every step of the process to getting a 30-minute dish and nailing it.
Well, look what Big Willie said 2 episodes. He's like, Big Willie, you move so slow, but you have everything down to a T. You know what you're doing. He's like, well, I just have more time to think about it. There you go. Because he's calm, because he moves slowly, he can think about every move that he has to make. Courtney, you have 30 minutes to think of an amazing dish, know exactly what you have to do, and then just start and know exactly what you're doing, as opposed to, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to make this dough that's going to be too dry, and that's going to be bad. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
And to have good Italian food, to have, like, as Joe puts it, rustic Italian food, you don't have to do anything complex. You just have to make it good.
I think the real thing that would have made this like a detriment to Courtney is if they told you start at the same time as everyone, but you have to stop at 30 minutes and they get to continue to the
I mean,
hour.
well, that's, you let any dish sit for 30 minutes.
No, they would try it right then, though.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just how they tried Gordon's salmon in the beginning, they would try right then. Anyway, so the judges think that Elise and Courtney will struggle because of Elise and, of course, the detriment to Courtney. Elise is making a porcini and artichoke ravioli. She messed up her pasta dough. It's over for me. I don't want to finish it. I want to throw in the towel because her pasta's too dry. Ramsey comes over, calms her down.
At least she stuck it out.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sticking it out. There's nothing I hate more than people that go through the entire audition process. I'm mostly thinking of Survivor right now, really. Is when people like, I would kill to be on Survivor, and I see people like, I can't do this. I need to go home. Like, no, get the hell out of here. Anyway, Cutter decides to make a flatbread crisp pizza. I like pizza and pizza and pizza because I felt like pizza's good and it's Italian. I like to eat pizza, so I'm going to make a pizza. And you know what? I feel like they'll like pizza too.
And Gordon points out it's like, you don't need yeast.
Yeah. And his dough was not even crispy. He didn't cook it long enough. Like, it was fluffy without yeast, but it was not crispy.
Yeah, there's...
Like, he could have at least, like, made a flatbread with, like, maybe... I don't even know, like matzah or something. I made a Jewish-Italian flatbread, you know? Then it could be a little bit...
we know how to make a bread that doesn't have to rise. You know, it's not that hard. We did it in the desert, walking through
It's an artisan flatbread. I can make an artisan flatbread. You want an artisan flatbread?
Oh, don't call it artisan. I hate you.
We haven't even gotten that. Aaron is making... I'm honestly getting confused at how to pronounce her name. No, not even trying to... Iran. Okay, right? I'm not even trying to be disrespectful. They just say it so many different ways in the show that I literally cannot get it down. She's making a savory tiramisu. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've been waiting for some freaking creativity, and I'm so glad that you get to shine with creativity this episode. This is what we've been waiting for, because even with like all of your dishes, it's like, we know you're a good cook. It's just I've been severely lacking in the fact that you can invent a dish and make it good. That's what I didn't think you could do. You've proved me wrong today, and I will hand it to you with that, Aaron. Bravo to that dish. That looked delicious.
I had no clue. Just like the judges, like you're like, that's weird. Could be good. Yeah. Weird.
But I like that. You gambled. You took a risk. That's what I love. That's MasterChef quality.
You gotta throw in like chocolate and shrimp. You gotta just like
You gotta put the
random
ladyfingers
things.
in. You gotta put the prosciutto in. You gotta put the Parmigiano cheese in there.
Do something that doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
That's what I want.
Leslie was drinking. That kind of makes sense. Courtney is waiting to start. She makes an artichoke ragu, and I just have written in big capital letters, it's an advantage. Elizabeth loved it, want to try it, want to eat it, want to go to a restaurant and order it. My God. Marissa, if I'm going to say 2 words, and I want your first word that comes to mind. Breakfast lasagna.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds so good.
So good.
It looked like a lasagna eggs Benedict in a way. It had 5 layers. It had 5 layers using the grana padano and mushrooms and the prosciutto and the egg, and she made a bechamel. Like,
I don't even know what bechamel is.
don't worry about it. It just looked so good.
It did. I wanted to eat it. I want to go make a breakfast lasagna. I wouldn't even be able to compare in the slightest to that. But just the idea, just the idea of a breakfast lasagna, I wouldn't have thought of it. But it's a perfect.
I want her
perfect thing.
I want her to go back to the kitchen and perfect that dish with whatever ingredients she wants. Instead of being limited to those what Joe chose, I want her to perfect that dish, and I want to try it. You hear me, Elizabeth? You got me.
Some eggs, some bacon, some hollandaise sauce, and
Well, it's not an eggs Benedict.
well, I'm saying, but like you could build from any sort of things with the idea of a breakfast lasagna.
You could definitely do that, and you know what? You could make it in bulk for catering. That'd be awesome. Okay, Big Willie is making a tomato soup with a fried egg on top and flatbread. Oh my God, thank you, Big Willie. I thought I was freaking insane. I'm gonna tweet you later about this. I totally eat tomato soup with a fried egg in it. It is the most delicious. When the yolk mixes with the soup, it is the most amazing flavor ever. I put noodles in, I put tomato soup, and I chop up like 2 or 3 fried eggs in that.
Again, I've never heard of this before. Sounds really good.
So good, especially with a little bit of cheese on top, like putting the Parmigiano in there. Oh my God.
I'd dip a grilled cheese in that. Get the whole thing.
This is like the one time I will disagree with Gordon Ramsay, because the mistake you made, Willie, is that you did not slice it in half before serving it. Because the great thing about that soup is when the yolk is still running, and Gordon took it off the side, he did not take yolk with it, and the yolk was a little bit cooked. So like if you cut it too soon, then the yolk will cook inside the soup. You have to like literally just slice it and let it. Oh my God, but I was like, hell yeah, I got your back, Willie.
Try that, kids at home.
All you do is just cook an egg and throw it in your tomato soup, like over easy, whatever. All right, so we have the top 3, which is, oh wait, no, we still have more. Courtney makes a chanterelle mushroom ragu. It's got the basil.
Christine.
Was that Christine? Chanterelle mushroom ragu.
Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, maybe we got it backwards before. Either way.
What did I say before for Christine?
I think you said Courtney instead of Christine. Never mind. Let's move forward.
Okay, Courtney makes a chanterelle mushroom ragu with basil, olive oil, spaghetti, crispy pancetta, and artichoke hearts, because this is when they're judging her dish. Joe says that Christian wasted his advantage because she performs the best in a spotlight. Stripper joke. I mean, just calling it. I mean, this
is what it was.
Producer's like, hey, can you make something that like references your previous job?
Aerial dancer, Steven. Aerial dancer.
Aerial dancer. Okay. Cutter makes an artisan pizza.
Okay.
Hey, but it has basil, oregano. No, just stop there. Just artisan. Do you know what that means? Do you know what kind of milk they use to make grana padano?
No, I don't.
Do you know what? Do you know what?
Capers.
Capers are.
That was the thing. It's like I actually don't know fully what capers are personally, but he didn't either, and he's on MasterChef. I feel like you do some reading.
Capers are so salty the way you choose them, but like, it's just depends on how you want. I mean, they come from a bush.
But no, I mean, for me, I grew up in New York, pizza capital of the world. Like, I hate when I see artisan pizza because I feel like that's just an excuse for like we didn't get like a good soft crust. Like, I have a pizza right here, and just because it's like like thick crust, that's a pizza.
That makes me want to eat it. Like,
but that's a pizza. Or I guess this is artisan because it's small.
No, like I'll say
there's only a little bit.
I'll say there's a place called Crave Cafe in the Valley. They make flatbreads. You know what? They're not artisan flatbreads. They could call them artisan flatbreads though, because they look good.
No, but like that's just like an excuse for whatever. It's just a
excuse to make
flatbread pizza.
He's trying to make his dish sound better when it's literally a disc. Like it looked like a pizza tostada with a little bit of stuff on top. He didn't even use the leg or anything. You know what, Cutter? Like, shut up. Not good enough. Not MasterChef.
I actually feel like I know that we
I
focused a
feel
lot
like
on,
I'm at a kid's party and a limp pizza came out. Loved it.
I know that we kind of beat up on Elise tonight about giving up and everything. I feel like Cutter's given up. Like, it's not that he's incapable of cooking. Like, we've seen him do decent dishes and good dishes in the past.
I feel like he's just a little bit delusional of how good he is.
No, I actually feel like it's the opposite. Like, he's sort of, like, decided he's not going to make it, and so he's just not, like, giving his all. He's like, oh, Italian food. Well, I could do a pizza. And then he just does he does like the bare minimum and skates by, and he's barely skating by, but it doesn't feel like he's trying very hard right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish somebody had used the wine. Like, he put so many bottles of wine in there. Like, nobody used the wine. Nobody made a white wine linguine or anything like that. Nobody did that, and I really wanted that. We don't even know what Leslie's dish is. Nobody really talks about it at all. So you know what, Leslie?
Something with ravioli. But they just blew by it in a heartbeat.
Oh, artichoke ravioli with grana padano and mushroom and artichoke. I do have it here. Leslie, they commented on your plating, but honestly, compared to the fried chicken, your plating is a lot better than it used to be from episode 1. That gigantic portion size, which honestly looked pretty damn good to me. I would totally eat that. Big Willie, they rate it. He says, I give it an 8 out of 10. Gordon says, you give it 7 numbers too many. And he's like, oh, so 1 out of 10. Ouch.
I have to say that, well, we'll get to that part.
They didn't let us see Joe try the freaking savory tiramisu. They loved the tiramisu, but we didn't get to see Joe try it. And I was like, what?
He must have had like a lukewarm reaction to it.
Well, he must have put ladyfingers in the box for somebody to have the option of making a tiramisu. So I wanted to see him try it. Anyway, Elizabeth, he says this is amazing. It's like taking a trip to Italy. She's really like, oh my God, like, oh my God. And the two standout dishes are Aaron and Elizabeth won. They both won technically. They will both be team captains next week. And they say normally would ask for the 3 worst, but we're gonna take the 2 obviously bad dishes. If you think you have the worst dish in MasterChef, 2 people raise your hands. Cutter, Elise, and Willie raise their hand. He says, I said only 2, and Cutter puts his hand down. Cutter. In what world did your artisan pizza beat Willie's fried egg tomato soup? You know, it wasn't very Italian, so I guess I can see your reasoning, but honestly...
Willie is just like, again, just like endearing himself to everyone, because he's like...
He's so humble!
His dish was like, it looked like, it looked a good idea. It was not like right out of the box, like, and he's like, nope, I didn't do well, mine was bad.
Hey, I'm down with it. You keep putting eggs in soup, Willie. I'm down. I'm totally down. I eat like 6 eggs in a portion, 7 eggs in a portion. We had that freaking Instagram, me flipping 7-egg omelet, man. Check that out on Instagram. So it is actually, no, actually, Cutter, you're wrong. It's you and Elise. So it's Cutter and Elise. Cutter has been in the bottom 5 times now. Even Gordon mentions it. And he says, I think I'm better than Elise. You know, I'm a better cook. I think that I can do what I want to do, and it's going to be good. You know, I made a damn good pizza. I'd eat it. I'd order that at a restaurant. It's like, no, you'd be pissed at how small it is and how lacking in flavor and why the crust is not crispy at all. And Elise is going home. Goodbye, Elise.
I mean, it's rough. I mean, we watched her buckle tonight. It like literally like she buckled at one point and she came back twice. She walked back into the room, put a dish on, even when she didn't have to, which is always good. But
I just want to say, whenever you present a dish to somebody, even if you know it's not good, don't say it's not good.
Yeah, you got to have the confidence. Because it looked good, like the ravioli and the who knows, like
they could just say it's not very good. And you're like, okay, yes, chef, I'll try better next time. But you don't say, I failed, chef. I failed, chef. This is going to be disgusting. Don't try it, chef. It's like, sorry, but you're selling a reaction. You're selling a dish to the customer. The customer may think it's the greatest dish in the world, but if you poison the well, they're not going to enjoy it.
Yep.
If you walk up to somebody with meatballs and say, these taste terrible, I'm sorry. They could taste fine, But then you're automatically going to be tasting them like, what's wrong with them, what's wrong with them, what's wrong with them, instead of, wow, this is good. It puts a negative thing on your food. It puts a negative spin on whatever reaction they would have had.
Someone tells you you're walking into a 5-star restaurant, you're going to be like, this food is delectable. It's delicious.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'm paying $100 for this check
and
for
then
myself.
you could come out at the end and be like, no, it's actually we just got it from Burger King.
Exactly.
And it's all up here. It's all in the head. Like, a lot of taste is in the mind.
There's 5 senses into cooking, and there's also the 6th sense, which you talked about, which is also your mind. Next week, we see that MasterChef restaurant opens. It's going to be couples. It's going to be a nice romantic setting, so I'm guessing like salmon, steaks, along that line.
How
of food.
do I get
Lobster.
a reservation at that diner? That dining room.
You marry Gordon Ramsay, apparently, because Gordon Ramsay's wife will be there. Hey! So it's time for predictions, because we got to wrap this up in about
now
120
your
seconds.
AfterBuzz TV.
I know. I like flew through the whole show because we spent 21 minutes on Elise, but that's fine. What do you think? Who do you think is going home next week?
If Cutter makes it another week with his unless his attitude turns around and he's like, I'm sorry, I've been such like a dick. He's just like, he seems like he's not trying. Unless he brings it around, unless he like comes back, I can't imagine him lasting another week.
I think that Christine goes home next week.
Really?
Yeah, because we haven't seen much of her, and I think that next episode is going to be her episode, and I think she's going to come home next week. We actually do have a guest scheduled for next week that we're working on booking. I can't tell you who it is. I was instructed.
But stay tuned.
I was instructed not to tell you who it is, so I will not tell you that. But it is somebody that has been on the show up until now. They haven't gone home yet. Anyway, that's our show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been MasterChef Season 5, Episode 9, entitled 13 Chefs Compete. Again, I am your host, Stephen Lemieux. I am on Twitter, at Stephen Lemieux, StephenLemieux. You can also find me on Guillermo del Toro's The Strain After Show here at AfterBuzz TV, alongside with Zach, as well as... I think that's really, as long as Graceland Wednesdays. Yeah, what am I talking about? Graceland. Really great shows. Check them out. And be sure to follow us on Twitter and go to iTunes and rate and comment, because we need more comments on iTunes. We only have one really great comment, which is really nice.
Please, feed our egos.
Where can we find you, Zach?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ThatZachWilson, and also here at AfterBuzz on The Strain with Stephen Lemieux, and The Leftovers and Dominion.
Wow, you didn't do it this time, where you're ThatZach.
I'm trying to make it move faster. You're just drawing it out.
I am. We'll see you guys next week for MasterChef After Show, Season 5, Episode 10, 12 Chefs Compete. Peace.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.